The longest-running show in television history. It hasn't been off the air in 60 years.
Because you can catch it anywhere now,
Yeah,
right?
it's pretty amazing. I mean, who would have thunk it?
That's absolutely true.
For decades, Leave It to Beaver was America's picture of perfection.
Leave It to Beaver.
But behind its wholesome charm hid secrets, scandals, and heartbreaks fans never knew. Did you know it was the first show to ever show a toilet on TV, nearly getting banned? Or that one actress quit after being humiliated on set, while another star secretly battled tragedy off camera? In this video, we uncover shocking truths the cast has finally revealed. Real stories that prove Mayfield wasn't as innocent as it seemed. This is the truth behind TV's perfect family. 20. Hugh Beaumont's tragic secret. Behind Hugh Beaumont's calm smile and steady presence as Ward Cleaver, the epitome of the perfect American father, lay a heartbreaking personal tragedy that few ever knew. In 1959, during the third season of Leave It to Beaver, Beaumont's real-life family was involved in a devastating car accident while traveling from Minnesota to visit him in Hollywood. The crash claimed the life of his mother-in-law and left his young son Hunter seriously injured. The tragedy struck just as Beaumont's career was flourishing, and America had embraced him as the ideal TV dad. Yet, while audiences saw warmth and wisdom on screen, the man behind the character was quietly grappling with grief, guilt, and a profound sense of loss that shadowed every day of filming. Later recollecting, Beaumont arrived on script days with his typical gentleness. However, there was a certain deep sadness that would never leave his eyes. He acted his part with utmost professionalism, but those close to him knew there was detachment from the role. He was putting pain into the compassion and patience Ward Cleaver would have. It became something of a silent therapy for a man who needed to uphold his dignity and grace amidst private sorrow. The audiences loved Beaumont's depiction of the manly, perfect father. However, he was mindful of an aching reality that behind the perfection lay heartbreaks. A heartbreaking reality known only to him and unseen by the camera. You thought you knew. Leave It to Beaver? The next truth will prove you didn't know it at all. 19. Larry Mondello's disappearance. Larry Mondello, Beaver Cleaver's chubby, snack-loving best friend, was one of the most beloved troublemakers on Leave It to Beaver. Played by Rusty Stevens, Larry's constant schemes and innocent blunders perfectly balanced Beaver's curiosity, making their friendship a highlight of the show's early seasons. However, by the start of Season 4, viewers noticed something strange. Larry had vanished without explanation. There was no on-screen farewell or storyline to explain his absence. For years, fans speculated wildly. Some believed the young actor had been dismissed for misbehavior, while others thought he simply outgrew the role. But behind the scenes, the truth was more complicated and, in many ways, unfortunate. Barbara Billingsley, who played June Cleaver, later remarked that Rusty Stevens' mother was the real reason for his disappearance. She allegedly became too protective and was difficult to work with, often interfering with productions and making life miserable for everyone on the set. So when the Stevens family was planning to move from California to Philadelphia, producers took advantage of the situation and quietly wrote Larry out. The space left by his departure was soon filled by a new character, Gilbert Bates, played by Stephen Talbot, who was akin to Larry in his mischievous energy. Yet for a good number of fans, there really was no replacing that endearing combination of awkwardness, loyalty, and disruption that Larry brought suddenly, leaving the scene marked one of the most puzzling and bittersweet stories behind the curtains for the show. 17. The kids weren't allowed to watch the show. While Leave It to Beaver became a cultural phenomenon across America, its young stars, Jerry Mathers and Tony Dow, were ironically forbidden from watching the very show that made them famous. The producers insisted that the boys should not see themselves on screen, fearing it might make them arrogant or self-conscious. They worried that fame could go to their heads and spoil the innocence that made Beaver and Wally so relatable. As a result, while millions of viewers tuned in each week to follow the Cleaver family's adventures, the two boys were kept away from the television set. Tony Dow later admitted in interviews that he didn't even know how popular the show was until long after it ended. This odd restriction was part of a larger effort to maintain authenticity and ensure protection for the young stars against Hollywood pressures. Any pressure from stardom was to be minimized for Jerry and Tony, preserving that charm that audiences loved. The boys enjoyed comparatively ordinary childhoods away from the cameras, going back to school, playing sports, and hanging out with friends between filming schedules. Ironically, they were huge names, but then never got to experience that same fame surrounding their characters. Years later, the two actors looked back with amusement that they had become icons of 1950s television without ever having seen themselves on it. 16. The most expensive episode cost $40,000. The Leave It to Beaver episode, In the Soup, aired on May 6, 1961, and became the most expensive installment in the show's history, costing nearly $40,000 to produce, a staggering amount for a sitcom at the time. The episode follows young Beaver and his mischievous friend Whitey as they gaze up at a massive billboard advertising a steaming bowl of soup. When Whitey dares Beaver to climb up and see if the soup is real, the curious boy takes the challenge, only to end up trapped inside the giant fake bowl. What seemed like a simple scene on screen actually required an elaborate production setup, including two separate billboards, one built outdoors for wide shots, and another full-sized replica on a soundstage for close-up filming. It was an exorbitantly costly affair, owing to all the large-scale prop construction, safety measures, and camera work. Even an average episode was budgeted to about $30,000. Cost aside, it turned out to be one of the most unforgettable and iconic moments in television history. The rushing firefighters who came at a full gallop to rescue Beaver, while audiences held their breath at every take. Shot this way, it conveyed how easily captured by innocent curiosity and chaos could childhood, the simplest dare becomes one of legacies and expensive scenes in television history. 15. Why Jerry Weil left the show. Jerry Weil, who played Judy Hensler, the sharp-tongued classmate who constantly teased Beaver Cleaver, left Leave It to Beaver for deeply personal reasons that few fans knew about. At just 12 years old, Jerry began experiencing the changes of puberty while filming, and it quickly became a source of discomfort on set. She later revealed that as her body started to develop, producers had her bind her chest with ace bandages to keep her appearance childlike, which made her feel self-conscious and humiliated. One particularly painful memory came during a baseball scene when she had just gotten her first period. She was terrified that her sanitary pad would show as she spun during filming, a moment that left her feeling completely exposed and embarrassed in front of her peers and the crew. Too much emotional pressure became unbearable for her. Though later rumors said she was sacked, Jerry did clarify decades later that she left on her own. "They didn't fire me," she said in an interview. "I let them go." Leaving this particular show created a space for her away from the bullying of Hollywood and the intense agony of being a young girl against boys. A departure that did not only end Judy Hensler's mischief, but also meant a little quiet, courageous self-preservation. 14. The first toilet on American TV. In October 1957, Leave It to Beaver made an unexpected mark on television history with the episode Captain Jack, which featured the first toilet ever shown on American TV. In the storyline, Beaver and Wally decide to raise a baby alligator but struggle to find a hiding place for it. Their hilarious and shocking solution: the boys stash it in the tank of a toilet. At the time, this seemingly innocent choice was nothing short of revolutionary. In the 1950s, even mentioning a toilet on television was considered inappropriate, let alone showing one. When the script was first submitted, network censors at CBS and later ABC were outraged, insisting that including such imagery would be offensive to family audiences. After intense negotiations, the producers were finally granted permission to show only the toilet tank and handle, carefully avoiding the bowl itself. Despite the compromise, this brief moment became a watershed event in pop culture history. It symbolized television's slow but steady move toward realism, portraying ordinary aspects of daily life that had long been taboo. For viewers, it was a tiny but memorable glimpse of domestic authenticity, while for the show's creators, it was a quiet victory against outdated censorship. That single scene of a toilet tank forever changed what was acceptable on American screens, one flush at a time. 13. Tony Dow was a junior Olympic diver. Before becoming America's favorite big brother, Tony Dow was already a champion in another arena: the swimming pool. Long before he joined Leave It to Beaver, Dow was an accomplished junior Olympic diving athlete, known for his precision, grace, and fearless dives. He began training at just 5 years old, mastering flips and spins that showcased incredible discipline and athleticism for someone so young. By the age of 9, Dow had already claimed the Junior Olympic diving title, impressing coaches who believed he had a real chance to compete in the actual Olympics someday. His dedication to the sport required early mornings, countless hours of practice, and endless dives into cold water, a regimen that shaped the focus and confidence he later brought to acting. It was, indeed, by accident that Dow ended up in Hollywood. One day, his mother took him to an audition that he had not planned to attend. With his athletic build, clean-cut looks, and natural charisma, Tony suddenly caught the casting director's attention, and he was immediately cast to play Wally Cleaver, even though he had no previous acting experience. The pool was replaced with studio lights, and his dreams of Olympic glory gave way to a surprise television legacy. Yet, the discipline with which he had dived helped him cope with fame's humility and grace, the qualities that defined both Tony Dow and Wally Cleaver. 12. Characters aged with the actors. One of the most unique aspects of Leave It to Beaver was its decision to let the characters grow and mature alongside the young actors who played them. When the show began in 1957, Jerry Mathers was just a second grader, portraying the curious and mischievous Beaver Cleaver. Meanwhile, Tony Dow, as Wally, was entering adolescence, balancing school, sports, and the awkwardness of teenage life. Unlike most sitcoms of the era, where characters remained the same age to preserve a formula, Leave It to Beaver allowed its characters to evolve naturally. Viewers watched Beaver navigate childhood mischief, while Wally faced the challenges of growing into a responsible young man. This authenticity made audiences feel as though they were growing up right alongside the Cleaver boys. Over the 6-season run of the show, time was very apparent in the lives of the characters. Wally went from middle school to high school fresh fish in the water, struggled with first crushes, and prepared for adulthood. Beaver learned about honesty and responsibility and took the awkward steps toward maturity. The family dynamics, too, subtly shifted over the years as the boys aged, mirroring real-life parent-child relationships. By the final season, Wally had graduated high school and Beaver was leaving elementary school behind. This gave the show that precious oddity of realism and emotional depth, often lacking in shows only a reflection of life in mid-century America, changing a sitcom, simple and really sweet, into an ode to growing up. 11. Jerry Mathers wasn't in I Love Lucy. For decades, television fans have circulated the persistent rumor that Jerry Mathers, the beloved star of Leave It to Beaver, appeared as a child actor in an episode of I Love Lucy. Many viewers were convinced they spotted him in the 1953 episode Ricky's Old Girlfriend, where Lucy dreams about her husband's past love and interacts with a young boy. The child's bright eyes and mischievous smile looked strikingly similar to Mathers, fueling the myth that Beaver Cleaver had once shared the screen with Lucy Ricardo. However, Jerry has repeatedly and firmly denied the rumor, setting the record straight once and for all. In 2019, Mathers put to end the perennial claims on his official Facebook page. Although the boy in the dream scene may look like me, I never appeared in any episode ever made for the series I Love Lucy. Eventually, production records conclusively proved that the young actor shown in that specific scene was really one of the twin brothers, Joseph or Michael Mayer, not Jerry Mathers. Still, the rumor persists among nostalgic fans who passionately swear to the overwhelming similarity despite clear-edged denial. The entire affair underscores, though, Mathers' cultural impact that is so entrenched with the innocent face he has in mind with television from the 50s. The imagined things, even in shows where he never set foot. If that behind-the-scenes story shocked you, the next Leave It to Beaver revelation will leave you speechless. 10. Beaver's Boy Scout audition. Jerry Mathers' journey to becoming Beaver Cleaver began with an innocent twist of fate and a Boy Scout uniform. At just 5 years old, Jerry attended his Leave It to Beaver audition wearing his full Boy Scout outfit, not to make an impression, but because he had a troop meeting right after and wanted to finish quickly. When asked if he wanted the part, he candidly replied that he just wanted to get to his meeting on time. That honest, unfiltered response instantly won over the producers, who realized they had found the perfect child to embody Beaver's natural innocence and charm. His sincerity wasn't rehearsed, it was real, and it became the defining trait that made his character so beloved across generations. However, Leave It to Beaver was already filmed, and Mathers as a child boasted quite a giant actor's resume. He had gotten involved in show business when he was only 2.5 years old, due to a store employee who had recommended him for a modeling assignment. Jerry started appearing soon performing in commercials, and then television programs, and even films, before other kids would have begun their kindergarten years. However, despite his early fame, at that audition, it was his boyish honesty that would change television history and win him a role that would forever define wholesome American childhood. 9. June Cleaver's pearls hid a neck indentation. June Cleaver's signature pearl necklace became one of the most recognizable symbols of 1950s television motherhood. But few fans know that it wasn't just a fashion choice, it was a clever solution to a filming challenge. Actress Barbara Billingsley, who played the ever-graceful June Cleaver, revealed that she began wearing pearls to conceal a small indentation on her neck that created unwanted shadows under studio lighting. The accessory softened the camera's focus and gave her a perfectly smooth, elegant look on screen. What started as a simple cosmetic fix quickly became an essential part of June Cleaver's character. Soon, audiences couldn't imagine her without those pearls, even when she was cooking, cleaning, or chatting in the kitchen. While Leave It to Beaver was developed into domestic perfection, the pearls took shape that are now identified as a symbol of that perfection. The producers insisted, and on almost every scene, Billingsley has pearls on, helping to perceive June as that perfect and organized mother that every household wanted to emulate in the 1950s. But really, behind that perfection is a practical woman using tricks of the wardrobe, navigating through all the stringent production standards of Hollywood. The pearls, with Billingsley's warmth and composure, began to define the wholesomeness associated in the sanctum of the Cleaver family, serving as a reminder that even the perfect mom on television knew a little movie magic to appear effortlessly flawless. 8. High heels were mandatory. While June Cleaver's pearls became her most famous accessory, her high heels were just as essential to maintaining the illusion of the perfect 1950s mother. Actress Barbara Billingsley wore heels in nearly every scene of Leave It to Beaver, even while doing household chores like cooking, dusting, or tidying the living room. However, this wasn't a stylistic choice to make June appear glamorous. It was a practical solution to a growing on-set problem. As the show progressed, Jerry Mathers, Beaver, and Tony Dow, Wally, were getting taller, and producers worried that Billingsley would start looking too short next to her sons. The high heels were meant to preserve visual balance and maintain her maternal authority on camera, ensuring June still appeared as the central, guiding figure in the family. Billingsley endured all sorts of discomfort without a word. The character of June Cleaver epitomized serenity, grace, and perpetual poise in the face of insurmountable odds. Her well-put-together demeanor of heels, pearls, and neatly pressed dresses became synonymous with post-war American femininity. Off-camera, Barbara reportedly preferred flats and casual clothes, but from the time she stepped on the set until the time she left each day, she was the consummate illusionist. Such a perfect character would carry far less weight without an even more imperfect reality of a woman stepping even higher to keep the image of the perfect TV mom. 7. Mayfield's location was a mystery. One of the longest-running mysteries in Leave It to Beaver lore is the true location of the Cleaver family's hometown, Mayfield. Throughout the show's 6 seasons, writers deliberately kept its whereabouts vague, allowing audiences from across the country to imagine the Cleavers living in a place much like their own. The town of Mayfield was meant to be an everywhere America, embodying the perfect suburban ideal of tree-lined streets, friendly neighbors, and timeless small-town values. While several clues appeared over the years, such as references to the Green Bay Packers and a school band performance in Madison, Wisconsin, none ever confirmed a specific state. This ambiguity made the show universally relatable, giving it a nostalgic charm that transcended geography. Over time, enthusiasts and research scholars sought to crack the case using clues from the dialogues and the filming locations. Some believed Skokie, Illinois, where outdoor shots were filmed, to be the inspiration for Mayfield. Then there were others who pointed to Ohio, citing its suburban layout and Midwestern feel. Producers later confessed that the confusion was purposeful. They wanted every viewer, localized or otherwise, to see his or her community reflected in the Cleavers' world. By keeping the actual location of Mayfield unknown, Leave It to Beaver also maintained its magic of familiarity, a town that existed everywhere and nowhere. Permanently bathed in that beautiful sheen every 1950s town in America was immersed in. 6. Many cast members returned in the 1983 revival. In 1983, nearly 2 decades after Leave It to Beaver ended, fans were thrilled by the return of the Cleaver family in the television reunion movie Still the Beaver. The special was such a success that it led to a full sequel series, the new Leave It to Beaver, which ran throughout the 1980s. What made the revival remarkable was that many of the original cast members returned, bringing the beloved characters back to life for a new generation. Jerry Mathers reprised his role as an adult Beaver, now a father himself, while Tony Dow returned as Wally, the dependable older brother who had grown into a responsible professional and family man. Barbara Billingsley once again appeared as June Cleaver, now the warm, wise matriarch guiding a new generation of Cleavers. Other familiar faces also came back, including Ken Osmond as the mischievous Eddie Haskell and Frank Bank as the lovable, lumpy Rutherford. Their return has added layers of nostalgia that fans could recall how these once youthful characters had evolved. Sad but true, the revival was bittersweet, in that it was the first after the passing of Hugh Beaumont, who played the part of Ward Cleaver the previous year in 1982. The very first episode was doing so in loving memory of the man who so perfectly embodied the role of father figure. But still, the Beaver has proven that with each generation, there will always be an American audience that can hold the Cleavers dear to the heart. Two funny lines were cut. Unlike many sitcoms of its time that thrived on laugh-out-loud moments, Leave It to Beaver followed a gentler, more realistic approach to comedy. And that meant cutting lines that were too funny. The show's producers had a strict rule. If a joke caused the cast or crew to burst into loud laughter during rehearsal, it would be removed from the script. Their goal was to maintain a tone of subtle, wholesome humor that reflected real family life rather than exaggerated punchlines. They wanted viewers to smile and relate to the Cleavers' everyday challenges, not to laugh at over-the-top antics. This restraint gave the show its distinct warmth and sincerity, setting it apart from the slapstick comedies that dominated 1950s television. Leave It to Beaver cultivated its genuineness by often leaning into soft humor, which resonated with audiences on a deeper level. Viewers laughed, not with the grandest of gags or a laugh track, but rather over Beaver's innocent misunderstandings, Wally's teenage awkwardness, or June and Ward's patient parenting. 4. Tony Dow wasn't originally an actor. Before becoming the charming and dependable Wally Cleaver, Tony Dow had no intention of pursuing an acting career. In fact, he wasn't even a performer when he landed the role that would define his life. At the time, Dow was an accomplished amateur athlete, best known for his diving achievements, and had never set foot on a professional set. His entry into Hollywood came purely by accident when his mother, a stunt woman and part-time model, took him along to an open casting call. With his clean-cut looks, calm demeanor, and athletic confidence, Tony instantly caught the attention of producers searching for the perfect big brother figure for Leave It to Beaver. Despite having no acting experience, he impressed the team with his natural presence and sincerity, qualities that made him seem like the all-American boy next door. Once cast, Dow had to learn everything about acting on the job. The transition from sports to television was daunting, but his work ethic and discipline, honed through years of athletic training, served him well. As the show progressed, Dow quickly grew into his role, mastering comedic timing and emotional nuance. 3. The real reason the show ended. Leave It to Beaver had been on the air for quite a time, and with fairly stable ratings, on until 1963, not because the audience lost interest, but because the character of Beaver, actor Jerry Mathers, was himself ready to graduate. After 6 seasons and 234 episodes, Mathers had grown from the innocent grade schooler to a teenager preparing for junior high. At this time, he decided that it was getting hard to keep up with school and the rigorous filming schedule of the show, and therefore quite maturely considered switching off acting and putting all his energies into education. At some point, the producers thought of carrying on without Beaver, but soon they realized that the series could not carry on without its star character. Because Beaver was more than just a character, he was the heart and soul of the Cleaver family, and through his appellation, the show spoke to thousands, nay, millions, worldwide. 2. Barbara Billingsley was typecast. After Leave It to Beaver ended in 1963, Barbara Billingsley discovered herself in a very sad reality. It was the role of a perfect mother on television that had created a sort of type for herself. June Cleaver, with her pearls, heels, and gentle wisdom, was so symbolic that her producers found it difficult to get her in any other kind of role. For years, television offered Billingsley characters that were nothing but mirrors to the domestic sweetness of June, that, as the years progressed towards the 1960s and into the ghastly modern regimes of the 70s, left her with even fewer opportunities to be at work. Although she was proud of Leave It to Beaver, it was naturally primed for the actress, yet eternally associating her with the one character made it difficult for her to demonstrate the versatility that was also desired or even allow herself new challenges in creativity. Stay tuned. Our #1 Leave It to Beaver secret will completely rewrite what you thought you knew. 1. The final episode explained Beaver's nickname. The last episode of Leave It to Beaver, Family Scrapbook, was aired on June 20th, 1963, and offered a lovable goodbye to one of television's most lovable families. The episode seemed more of a stroll down memory lane than a typical storyline, as June Cleaver found an old photo album while cleaning house. The Cleaver family then gathered, going through the scrapbook together and remembering favorite moments from the show's 6 seasons. A series of flashbacks not only reminded the public of all of Beaver's devilish exploits, they also charted Wally's coming of age and the gentle parenting of Ward, and June softly reflecting on how both characters and audiences had matured hand in hand through the years. This episode shall always be remembered for the warmth and emotional richness it presented, affording its fans a fitting and emotional farewell. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed uncovering the hidden secrets behind Leave It to Beaver, hit that like button and let us know in the comments. Which fact surprised you the most? Don't forget to subscribe for more untold Hollywood stories and classic TV revelations. Before you go, click the next video on your screen to keep exploring the fascinating secrets behind your favorite shows. We'll see you there.